All right, hammock versus tents. If you look around YouTube, you're going to find a bunch of videos on why I stick with a hammock or why I stick with a tent. And everybody is trying to convince you that their way is the best way. I don't think that's true. I don't think that's the case. My perspective is that I'm an avid elk hunter. I spend anywhere between 6 to 9 months in the mountains almost every weekend. And my perspective, my philosophy is that I will do whatever is necessary to find, observe, and hunt elk. And I tend to prefer the method that is most logistically easier, either my daily comings and goings or just based on the terrain and where I'm hunting. So I really I'm not set on any one method. I have my preferences, but I will do whatever is necessary. So over the years, I've done both. So that's the perspective that I'm offering. Too long, didn't read. If it's hot, use a hammock. If it's cold, use a tent. If you have no trees, use a tent. Oh, you still here? Okay. Now let's get down. Let's just totally geek out on this as much as we can within a reasonable time frame. I'm a very detail-oriented person, so there's going to be a lot that's in my head that I'm going to forget to say. So if you have any questions at the end of this video, ask them and I'll answer them to the best that I can. I have an outline of all my thoughts right here. And I'm just going to do this off the cuff in one take. So, placement and location of tents versus hammock. Mountains and a hammock is hard to beat because you're not limited to certain flat areas. A tent, ideally you're looking for a flat spot to pitch your tent. The footprint on a hammock is much larger than that of a tent. Weight. Now, weight and bulk is an interesting thing here. Now, this tent here is a military tent that pretends to be a civilian tent, or tries to pretend to be a civilian tent. This particular hammock and tarp is a civilian hammock and tarp that tries to pretend it's a military version. Both of these weigh exactly the same, which is without a pad or an under-quilt. For both of them is about 5.5 pounds on my hanging scale. So these are a comparable comparison. Now as far as bulk goes, this is nice because you can strap it to the outside of your pack, saving all the inside space of your pack for something else. As far as sleeping goes, you're going to run a pad. This is a big Agnes Repeat SL. This obviously goes in your pack. So this is better, tent is +1 on the packability, less bulk. This hammock, this particular hammock and tarp, matching tarp, these are obviously going to have to go inside your pack. So this takes up more space inside your pack. You add an under-quilt to it, and all of this has to fit inside your pack. Whereas with a tent, only this needs to fit inside your pack because you can strap this on the outside. Now, going back to placement for a minute, one point I forgot to mention is that the joys of a hammock, particularly in the mountains, is that you can camp almost anywhere. And I have. Slopes are not an issue, and let's face it, in the mountains you're going to face nothing but slopes. You can camp a lot more places with a tarp and a hammock than you can with a tent. Setup and takedown. Personally, I find a hammock more finicky and more fidgety to set up. I think a hammock is more of a pain in the butt to set up if you're not practiced at it. My last trip out, I set up a hammock camp in the dark without any trouble. It was the first hammock camp of the year that I set up where I was like, how do I do this again? And also with a hammock, you're going to have to learn how to do knots and make a ridge line, learn how to use toggles. Like this is a pre-made ridge line for the tarp. Like I said, it's more fidgety. Tents go up easier. Anybody can set up a tent. So a hammock requires more skill. A tent does not. Now tear down, a hammock is way easier to tear down because you don't have to fold anything. You just stuff it in a sack and you throw it in there, and you don't. That's my biggest gripe about tents is you have to fold it just right, and then it has to squeeze back into the sack it came in, and that's a pain in the butt. Now just remember one point about bulk. I'm going out of order here, I'm sorry. As hammocks go, these are hammocks that are made by the same company, DD Hammocks, they're out in the UK. This is not an ultralight hammock. This is. So you can probably see the difference in bulk. Same thing with a tarp. This is not an ultralight tarp. This is. So the ultralight line takes up a lot less bulk in your pack. It's also a bit more expensive, and you have to baby it because it uses a very lightweight ripstop. Whereas these, they're built like, this particular line is built like a tank. On either system, since I'm going backwards here, in either system, you're obviously going to need something for ground insulation. Under-quilt versus pad. Pads, I hate using air pads, honestly. I use them because I have to. But I think an under-quilt that just hooks on is so much easier because when you're done, you just pull it out, you hook it up, and when you're done, you just shove it back in the bag and cinch it down, and you're done. With this, you have to roll it up just right, and you have to blow it up, and but it is what it is. Back to weight. This right here, tarp, hammock, under-quilt. This particular one is 7.2 pounds. This tent with a ground pad is also 7.2 pounds. So it's kind of like apples and apples here. Comfort. As comfort goes, I find I actually sleep much better in a hammock. I sleep okay on a ground pad. But I find it a little bit better in a hammock if you do it right. It goes back to hammocks need a little bit more skill to use properly. Now, as far as seasonal comfort, if you're expecting like really rough weather, high winds, big drop in temperature, horrendous downpour and rain, and you know you're getting it, I would go with a tent. That's not to say you can't do that in a hammock setup, but from inclement weather, you're much better protected in a tent than a hammock. But going backwards again, because I can't do this in order, one nice thing about hammocks I find is that you have a much larger work area. Because it has a larger footprint on the ground, you have a larger work area, which means that you can cook under your tarp. A tarp also casts shade over your hammock, which is nice. You'll be much cooler and more comfortable in a hammock setup. And if it's raining, you have a ton of room to cook under or stow your gear. Whereas with a tent, you can't really cook under your vestibule as well, and you're more condensed in. So you have more freedom of movement with a hammock, less so with a tent. Now, you come to winter. Hands down, wintertime, tent is the only way I personally will go. I know there are people who will hammock camp in the winter when there's snow on the ground. I personally will not. This tent with its winter liner is it creates an awesome microclimate. And it can't be beat. And as far as pitch on the ground, you can always use your snowshoes and compress the snow and make a level spot. So wintertime, hands down, it's tent. Cold weather, tent. Concealment. Now, this might not be an issue for some people, but for me it is. And that, to me, hiding your camp is a form of security. I personally don't like camping near the road. If I do it all the time, but I prefer not to. Sometimes I just feel better on a ridge somewhere away from the road. You can conceal a hammock camp, however, because it's larger and higher up off the ground, it's a little bit harder. So, whereas a tent is lower to the ground and not as high, so if you want to conceal your camp, a tent is much easier. Situational awareness and feeling secure in your camp. These are kind of opposite ends. It depends on where you're at in your outdoors career. Personally, I like the situational awareness that you have in a hammock camp, because you can see all around you, depending on how you have your tarp set up. When you're in a tent, you really can't see much except out the door. So if you want to keep an eye out on what's around you and just be situationally aware, a hammock is much better. Now, opposite end of the scale, maybe you're just starting out, maybe you're kind of spooked at night. And there's no shame in that. Everybody goes through it, I think. And there's a real funny video about, I think this guy is named Blake the Game Outdoors, and he made an awesome video on this subject. And I got a really good laugh at it. But if you're just starting out and you're still got that fear of the dark going on, a tent will offer you a greater sense of security, because you're not peering out into the gloom of the dark, especially at night. Yeah, that is just entirely personal. Now, bugs. A tent is horrid on bugs. You're basically sleeping on the ground. You're sleeping with the bugs. Even if you're running just like a tarp setup or just like a teepee tent, which I'll show in a later video, you're going to get bugs. And this tent here will get a lot of bugs trapped in between the mosquito netting and the rain fly. And they just sit there, and you'll be laying down there, and you'll see these big wasps and hornets just kind of just buzzing around there and getting trapped. So whereas with the tarp and a hammock, bugs come and go, but they don't hang out and they're not trapped. So way to go on the bugs for that one. I think that's all I have. This is going to be fairly long. Now what I'm going to do after the second part of this video is I have a whole video library of just raw footage I've taken over the years. I don't delete any of it anymore. I save it all. And I went through and I found like 4 or 5 hammock camps and 4 or 5 tent camps. So and I'm going to put them in as unedited as I can, which will make this video super long. But you'll be able to see for yourself and judge for yourself the differences between a hammock and a tent camp. Before that, I'm also going to show think of it as a mini movie within this video. The scouting, I'm going to call it the scouting trip that got me into hammocks. And there was a lot I learned on that trip. So I think that's about it. I'll be surprised if anybody watches this whole video all in one take, because we're not a professional YouTuber, nor will we ever be. You have a good one, and we'll see you come, I don't know, I got to scout in my muzzy, and then it's rifle season. So, I don't want, that'll be the next video. Have a good one. But I am kind of curious as to what I'm going to find down there. I need to work my way around and find a place to camp. I'm starting to see the value of a hammock. Flat spots up here are kind of hard to come by. Oh, other side of the peak. All right, I got camp set up. And you know what? I can see the draw to hammock camping, because this actually took a lot of work. And you're limited on where you can camp because you need a flat spot. I might just switch to a hammock if I come back up here again. And I know one thing, I already regret not bringing my bug netting. Bugs galore in here already. But I took off the small day pack off my main pack, and I need to go find water. I have like maybe half a liter of water left in my bladder. I have 2 liters in my pack, but I don't want to get into that if I don't have to, because I'm saving that for dinner and breakfast. So I need to find some water, hopefully down that way, down the draw, because I am thirsty and I've been drinking a lot more water than I thought I would. It's pretty hot. All right, such as it is, I have a small water problem. I'm almost out of my bladder. So after I set up camp, I looked down this one drainage, and according to my topo map, there should have been a creek down there, and there wasn't. So I went down this drainage, an even steeper one. It's gonna be hell getting back to camp. No water. It's a good thing I packed that extra 2 liters of water. I didn't want to get into it, but now I have no choice. Tried taking a nap, and all I could think about was like a nice, cool glass of water. I'm really thirsty. What water I have, I've been trying to ration. Nothing on this scouting trip has turned out right. The way getting in here was, there's supposed to be trail, there's not. Supposed to be water down here, there's not. And there really isn't that many good places to glass. So at this point, I'm going to try making my way back to camp. Ration what energy and water I have. Keep my ears peeled in the evening just to see what I hear. And tomorrow morning at first light, I'm gonna head down the mountain. I'm gonna bushwhack down and come out to the road. Maybe I'll find some water on my way down. I'm thirsty. So I ate dinner. Ate most of a ramen bomb. That may have been a mistake, because I don't think I have enough water in my system to digest it, so I didn't eat all of it. I did drink a little bit more water. Of that 2 liter, that I had packed in my pack, I only now have 200 milliliters left. So I'm basically out of water. Out of water, out of gas, out of ideas, out of everything right now. Ain't that my luck? No water. Took me long enough, but I finally found water. It is literally coming out of the ground right over there. Oh, what a beautiful, beautiful thing. We is taking up. Tanking up. What a beautiful, beautiful thing. Oh yeah. It's really cool too. Oh. I'm in a cocoon with my stinky feet. Use my trekking poles, prop up the tarp, so now I got a little view. 30% chance of rain or thunderstorms. So we'll see how this does, huh? Wish this hammock would lay out a little bit wider. But it has bug netting and it weighs about 1.5 pounds, so I can't complain. And it was inexpensive, so I can't complain too much. So far I'm liking this hammock setup. Proof will be in the pudding and how well I sleep in it tonight. It's nice up here. I think I'm gonna go down and get some water. I'm not too far from a spring. That's why I camped here.
But I have to say, this tent is a condensation machine. No lie. I even opened the vent up a little bit. This tent, holy moly on the condensation. In fact, my sleeping bag's getting wet. And it's raining on me. Yeah. Holy mackerel, the condensation. You know, I don't think leaving a little crack in the window right here would have made any difference. Because you have both these screens right here. And it both has air out to the outside. There's frost on the inside of the fly.
Took a nap, listened to an audiobook, improved my camp a little bit, and this spacing here, this hammock works out okay at this spacing because I can get an asymmetrical light. And you head over here on this side, feet over there on that side, and I'm actually able to lay out relatively straight, which is nice. So I think I'm gonna cool my heels for another hour or so, then I'm gonna head out and start glassing for the evening.
think I'll make my ramen bomb and take it out with me because I'm glassing not even a 5-minute walk from here. 5, maybe 10 minutes. So I'll just fill up my ramen bomb and take it with me while I'm glassing. Temperature dropped fast. I think the overnight low is supposed to be about 10 degrees. I need a thermometer. It might even be colder, I don't know. The condensation in the tent, but I don't care because it's frozen. Ordinarily at hammock camp this time of year, but there's no place to hammock camp around here. I'm in a burn area. And I need time and experience on this equipment for the fall. Because where I'm gonna be in the fall, there will be no way to hammock camp. It'll be too damn cold to hammock camp. So, we'll see how the Big Agnes Rapide does tonight. I didn't fill it all the way up. I hope I don't puncture it. I've got the footprint underneath and that, so hopefully that's enough. We're rocking the Carthenia Troopin. So, I should not be cold tonight. If anything, this tent will be too warm. All right, time to go glass. Glassing point number 3. I can definitely see a lot more on this side. The thing I can't glass is what's directly down there, but I can glass the rest of this place. So I'm kind of curious to see what stirs tonight. I might go take a nap for a little bit and start glassing again. Yeah, check out that rock slide area over there. Kind of carved myself a path here. Here's my second glassing spot. And there's camp, which is my first glassing point. This is really feeling lazy. All right. Anyway, got camp set up. Best I can do. Bunch of scrub oak. It's what's readily available right now. I'm just warming up some water for some coffee. I need some bad. I'm a little dehydrated. Got my bed made. I like this 1.5 because I can shove my gear over there, just clothes and whatnot. So I got plenty of room. A little more cramped over here because I gotta keep space for the stove. I have about 4 feet of snow underneath me. Had to compact it down, and I got some snow anchors going. Hopefully those hold. If they don't, I'm gonna be in a bad way. I need some coffee. And I am dead dog tired. Alright, so I didn't quite get the whole thing, but home away from home. Hammock camping. Done right. I'm almost as comfortable as in my bed at home. And no condensation to deal with. But you gotta do it right. Originally I was gonna hammock camp, but the weather forecast called for rain most of the weekend. Huh, yeah. And up to 15-mile-per-hour winds, so I figured a hammock may not be the best idea. So I figured I'd bring a tent, but I wanted a larger vestibule. So, regular backcountry palace here. Feels more like a outpost. That's my cable. Oh, so I'm using the gear that I'll be using in the fall, early winter. Presumably, though, I might swap this tent out for something a little warmer. But in the meantime, I'm getting this system down for later in the year. I'll work out all the kinks on that. I really did want to hammock camp this trip, though. And the thunder rolls. Pissing down rain now. Well, we'll put the tack dry. More or less. Set my tent in these trees so it's not out in the open. Maybe give me a little bit of a windbreak. Expecting up to 10-mile-per-hour winds or so, and about a half a foot of snow in the next couple days. So, be ever so humble. No place like home for the next couple days. I need to boil some water. I need more water. I can't sleep. I went to bed at 6:30. I'm sure I passed right out. But I think I'm ready to go. And it's fairly warm in this tent. I'm surprised. Went out and took a leak. I was breathing fog. I don't know how cold it is outside, but inside here, it's perfectly warm. This Litefighter 1 tent with the cold weather kit seems to work.